Hello YouTube and welcome back to the channel outside the target demographic. Today we're going to be doing a overview on my new Bushnell rifle scope. Let's get started. So I've done a video on 3 scopes that I sent to Bushnell for warranty repair, and 2 of them they did nothing with except return them to me. The third one they went ahead and replaced with this guy. Now the one I had sent in is of a older vintage, and I believe it was a wide view 3x9x40. So I guess this is the most modern equivalent of that, and this is what they issued as a replacement instead of repairing. Now, full disclosure, I am waiting. I saw an email saying that they would be ordering a replacement part, not replacing the entire unit with a new one. So I don't know if I'm going to be expecting my old one back. Honestly, I really liked the vintage one, but I have yet to see what this one looks like. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I have 1 pound 7 ounces here and 640 grams. Now that of course includes the box, the nomenclature, whatever else is inside. So we will update this as we go along. So we have a couple of things here. We're going to go with English, I assume. Dusk and Dawn brightness coating. One-piece tube construction, multi-coated lens, waterproof, fog-proof. So for those of you who haven't seen the other video, the reason I sent my old one in is the zoom ring was no longer functioning. It's, from what I could tell when I tore it apart, it's a single threaded shaft, essentially a screw without a head, and that had broken, sheared off, so I was hoping they'd be able to replace that. Apparently they weren't. So we're going to see what this one has for us. All right, so the packaging seems pretty good. We have a hard cardboard protector here, wrapped in some foam paper. Go ahead and show the contents here. We have some warnings and concerns and all on the bottom side. Made in China. Not sure of my vintage one. I imagine it's old enough that it wasn't made in China, but I guess we might not ever find out. So let's go ahead and unwrap this. Manual. So we have a unsealed plastic bag. It was folded over on itself, and we had some desiccant packs. This is a hard gel. It's almost looks like a couple of beads, and the purpose is to absorb any, not moisture, but humidity out of the air for long-term storage and stuff. My understanding is at least some of them, if not all of them. This runs a mineral clay, so I'm not sure. But I believe I have a small collection of those that I've opened up, and I put them inside of a sock. You can microwave it every 6 or 8 months to boil the humidity out of it, and you can keep it in your handgun or rifle storage or safe or wherever you keep them, and it will help with humidity control. So we have 2 caps. They are see-through. So you have the benefit of protecting your lenses while being able to see through them, probably at a diminished amount, if you don't have the time to remove them. These are brand new. Let's see, we'll focus on this one. It's got a pretty decent gouge right there, and I've got 2 gouges on this one. I say gouge. Trust but verify. Let's see. So while it is cleaner, it is no less scratched. So right out of the chute, these are already subpar, shall we say. We'll put those over there. We'll get rid of this guy. So here is the scope all by its lonesome. We're looking at 14 ounces. 14 ounces, so just shy of a pound. 400 grams almost on the dot. With These protectors, we're looking at 20 grams, 0.7 ounces, the whole kit. Still not yet a pound. So that's pretty good. Not terrible. I'm sure there are lighter ones out there. This optic, according to the website, currently runs for $100. So let's see what we got here. We have Bushnell banner, printed twice. That's the grandfather clock. Everyone should have one. Let's see if the optics themselves... All right, so to be fair, the lens protectors have protected the lens. So that's good. I can tell there seems to be a lot more weight back here than the front of it. I imagine that would be the case. You would have your main optic here, and you're going to have a series of optics over here, and that would be adjusted by the zoom ring. So moving on to the zoom ring, we have a 3x9. So for those of you not in the know, 3x9 is your magnification. When I look through it at its lowest power setting, things will look 3 times bigger than the unaided human eye. That is a cuckoo clock. Everyone should have one. Or it will look 3 times closer, whichever way you'd like to think about that. And you have a infinite variable between 3 and 9 magnification. So I can set it at 7.384 times zoom or whatever you want it to be. This zoom ring is rather stiff. We have a hard stop there. We have a hard stop there. It essentially lines up. The 9's a little bit more to the left. On the 3, it's a little bit more to the right. $100 optic, kind of what you get. There's a little bit of drag. And I can just barely hear the internals dragging or the internal sliding as I'm moving that. So honestly, not too terrible on that, I don't think. We have 0 rattle. Seems put together well enough. Let's see if we have any... that seems to be oil of some kind. I don't really see any scratches or tooling marks or anything like that, so that's good. And of course, if I look through... Very nice. So I have no objective way of referencing it. But you have your, I believe it's a duplex reticule. You're going to have 4 rather thick wires leading to a center that's going to be maybe half the width of the rest of the reticule. And that will allow you to, with the larger reticules, quickly, grossly line up your target, and then you'll be able to do a little bit more precision stuff by not having the thicker wire lines obscuring your target as you're trying to line it up. So instead of me trying to line up my target in the middle of my hands, I'm lining up my target in the middle of my fingers. It's a little bit easier to see what's going on here than here. But you have the benefit of the larger ones getting you quickly lined up with that to then go for precision to line up your shot. So not my favorite reticule. I imagine it will serve its purpose just fine. The shooting range has about 100-yard range on it. I could go like 220-ish if I wanted to, but this isn't going to make for precision work. It's going to be for a little bit faster work. Ooh, those were nice and tight. I count that as a pro because I can set them nice and tight. These are your turrets. So we have 1 click is 1/4 inch at 100 yards. So that should be a 1/4 MOA adjustment per turn. So if you are, let's do some simple math here. If I'm hitting here and I am aiming here, then I should be able to rotate this 1/4 click at 100 yards. This is assuming the shots are at 100 yards. I need to lower this 2 inches, so I would rotate this clockwise to move it down, and I would do that 8 clicks, and that would get me to 2 inches down. and then I would do some follow-up shots and confirm that I'm hitting there. And again, you can just adjust left, right, up, down with those. So let's see. There's a little bit of slop in them. Not much. And there's an audible and tactile click to those. Now there's two ways you can adjust it. You have the outer ring here, and then you can grab the plastic step here and adjust it that way if you would prefer. So far I'm liking that. Let me see if... I don't see one. So what I'm looking for, I don't see it on that one, and I don't see it on this one. There are indexes, and they will show you different hatch marks. You have a 0, and then you'd be able to go 1, 2 with, looks like quarter increments along the way. I have other scopes that I believe the idea is once you would establish your 0 at 100 yards, you would line up your indexes with that 0. So I would line up this 0 with a dot or a notch right here that would indicate 0, and I would do the same with this. Now, if I am shooting with a crosswind and I know that I need to compensate for a constant 5-mile-an-hour wind or what have you, I could make my left-right windage adjustments, and I could compensate for that wind. When I unscrew the caps, I can see that I haven't returned this back to the original 0 in presumably ideal conditions. And that would give me a way to index kind of what setting in a camera I would be using. This would allow me to return to a 0 mechanically so that I can make adjustments. If I'm shooting out at 100 yards and I want to be shooting out to 200, there's going to be bullet drop because it turns out bullets do not create lift. They are affected by gravity. So the further out you shoot, the more of a trajectory, the more of a arc that you're going to have. So your bullet's going to start dropping faster and you're going to start hitting lower. Instead of me doing Kentucky windage and raising my reticule here to hit here, I could make adjustments on the up, and I could raise or lower the reticule depending on what range I'm shooting at and make those adjustments. All that to say, it would have been nice if these rings, and I'm going to confirm that I can't lift and rotate. Doesn't look like I can. So it would be nice if these rings could be zeroed. The thing you could do there is if the manufacturer doesn't give it to you, you can give it to yourself. Giggity. So you could, once you've established 0, let's assume for sake of argument that the 13 is now my 0. I can use white nail polish. I can cover that 13. I could put a notch down here or on the body of the scope. And as long as I have that white mark with that white mark indexing, I know that that is now my 0. And while I wouldn't necessarily pay attention to the 1s and the 2s and the 3s in any kind of sequential order, I would know that by adjusting it 3 MOA, I am making the following adjustments for my point of impact versus my point of aim. Does not look like they give you that from the factory. The only other thing it could be is if I undo these screws, maybe loosen that up a little bit, I would be able to move this wheel without making the mechanical clicking adjustments, and then rotate the ring and re-tighten it. And while I'm good at making things up on the fly, it turns out that Bushnell came through. So resetting the adjustment scale ring, this feature is not available on all models. And it describes essentially what I was talking about. So I can use a Phillips screwdriver. I can make adjustments on the knobs. We'll go over it again. If I loosen those enough that I can raise this ring so it no longer engages with the internal mechanisms, I can adjust it to my 0 and retighten it down. I do like that. I can make the change, but the screws will prevent the change from being made for me. In that, I can't accidentally lift this up, rotate it, and lower it back down without knowing it, or by being jostled or dropped or something like that. This is a mechanical means that is going to interlock the indexing ring with the internal mechanism. So, I I don't know, for $100 scope, I feel like that's not terrible. It didn't cost them much as far as engineering or material, but I feel like that's a good bonus. I do like that. All right, so we're gonna look through here, and we already did see that. I'm going to consider rolling in some footage outside. This is kind of what you're going to run into with scopes, is something called an eye box. So the eye box is how far away from the rear lens your face or eye has to be in order for you to properly see the image. Not only is it the distance from the back, it's also your alignment with it. If you are looking straight down the middle of the glass, you're pretty much good to go. If your eye deviates the least littlest bit amount off of the center axis, you could be running into a situation like this, where I am getting an image, I am not getting the image. Now I am getting the image, but just the slightest deviations and the image is going to black out on me. You'll find that that is more pronounced on your 9x zoom. So I'm going to try and hold it pretty steady here, right about there. And you can see on the outer ring of this scope how well I am or am not holding that, versus the 3x zoom, which is going to give you a lot more leniency on that. And that's just the nature of the beast. The more you are bending the light, the more you need to be in line with the light to get the image. That's not necessarily something that would be negated by a $15,000, $1,500, or substantially more expensive scope. There may be a little bit less of that, but that's just the nature of the beast. Turns out your car will be loud even if you're in a parking spot with the engine running, because the engine's running. So I am liking it so far. Again, I'm interested in if they're going to return to me my old vintage scope, but in the meantime, we're looking at less than a pound. We will put that in grams for you. So it is going to weigh your rifle down a little bit. I'm not sure of the eye box. Let me see. So on the 3x, the furthest away from my eye is about 3 inches. And the closest I can get is maybe 2¼ inches. So it's not generous. And when we set it to the 9x, it's not terrible. The left-right precision is a little bit tighter, but I feel like, well, let's go ahead and check. So I can continue getting a clear image to almost, about 2¼ and then the furthest away from my eye is just shy of 3 inches. So I suppose the eye box does close a little bit as you zoom in a little bit more. The thing with that is you aren't trying to hand hold this thing at exactly the distance away from your eye. With this being mounted on a shotgun or a rifle or some kind of shooting, crossbow, compound bow, what have you, you will be putting your face in the same place on the stock, and you'll be creating a cheek weld, which is going to allow you to return to the same position, the same alignment, which is going to make lining up with the reticule much easier. That is one of the many reasons why shooting a rifle is easier than learning how to shoot a handgun. But we'll go through this again. We're looking at 400 grams there. We're looking at 14 ounces there. If you were to go with the included lens covers, adds almost an ounce, and 421 grams. So that's about all we got. There's really nothing else in the box. We've got some paperwork, 30 days to register your Bushnell product. You can receive some discounts, exclusive special offers, and priority access to stuffs. I'm not terribly disappointed. Again, I am curious on if they'll honor the return of the old scope. I think that would be pretty nifty. Again, the zoom ring is the mechanism that failed, and I was able to unscrew this, move it over, and manually adjust it to either a 3 or a 9 time. I just left it as a 9 time. Might as well, if I have the weight of a 3x9, I might as well use it at its highest setting. But I'm liking it. They didn't include any mounting rings, which is fine. I have a couple sets of those, so that will probably get you to over a pound. But the clarity seems pretty decent. I do not believe it's a wide view. I believe the old one I had was a wide view. It was a 40 millimeter objective lens, so it was the same diameter, but I felt like it gave you a wider field of view, so maybe your target would be less defined, but you had more of a widescreen television view than a standard 4:3 ratio. I can't really remember, and it's a couple time zones away currently, so I have no way of validating that. But $400, assuming it holds zero and it holds it well, this isn't a terrible choice. I don't see anything particularly wrong with it. They give you kind of a, I feel that's a higher end thing. Those in the know, feel free and correct me in the comments section below. But the ability that you can do a little bit more with this by zeroing it and confirming your zeros before you go out, making adjustments on the fly and being able to return back to your original setting, I think is pretty slick. So this is a overview of the Bushnell Banner 3x9x40 millimeter. Let me go ahead and roll these out of here. I'll provide you a close-up of, well, that's a very close-up, of the barcode, the reticule. Come on now. Banner 3x9x40. And I believe I was able to look it up by the 613948 number on the Bushnell website. All in all, I feel like they packaged it decently enough for a 100-pound optic, or sorry, $100 optic. It is a warranty replacement for me, so no money changed hands or anything like that. I'm not supported by anyone, as the quality of the video would suggest. But I think it's going to serve just as well as the other one did. Got, I think, over a decade's use out of the last one. So this one will probably be going on top of a AR platform. The 3x9 should be plenty for the reach that I'm looking for that. It's light enough that I feel it would be well suited for that. So that's the unboxing of the Bushnell Banner 3x9x40 millimeter lens that just came in as a warranty replacement for a scope that could not be repaired. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and leave that in the comments section below. If you have any experience or insights with this type of scope, I'd love to read about that too. Go ahead and leave that in the comments section. If I don't hear from you guys, I will catch you in the next video. Thanks for stopping by.